On Fanalysis, we use the analytics of fantasy football and incorporate the betting trends. The result is a new way to find the sharp angles for the NFL games. So let's take a look at Week 16 and see how this week looks with sports handicapper that you can find on Twitter as Old Man Who Bets. Geoff Sheasby joining us once again. Jeff, let's start off with the top plays for Week 16 of the NFL. The Broncos are giving the Lions 6.5 in Mile High.
This is the game that we've been salivating for.
Yeah, the Lions have lost 10 of their last 11, and we're talking about two starting rookie quarterbacks.
Yeah, Blau versus Locke. You know, when Week 1, when the schedule came out, I had this one circled as the game that I wanted to bet.
And you were hoping it was going to be the rookies?
Yeah, hoping for the rookies, and here we are, Week 16. Where did the season go? I couldn't tell you. But anyway, you know, looking at this one, I do like the Broncos at home at -6.5. Obviously, going into Denver, cold, terrible, less air, tough place to play. So when Blau's coming out there, you know, not feeling great about him. He's looked, I would say, mediocre at best. Kind of through this season so far. You know, he kind of shocked the world a little bit on Thanksgiving. That 75-yard score with total blown coverage was, I think, the highlight of that game. But he's thrown only 3 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. Throw a fumble in there. Not a great ratio. And, you know, nonetheless, I think, you know, when we're looking at the offensive efficiency here, you know, they're 19th overall. Denver's 26th. Again, both mediocre. But the other side of the ball, we've got Denver at 12th, which is far better than Detroit's 26th. So I think the biggest delta there is going to be Denver controlling the clock. Lindsey's going to find a little bit of speed here. Sutton has looked pretty solid. Inconsistent for sure. But I think, again, a battle of two mediocre teams. I think Denver is strong enough to win by 1 score.
Do you find that sometimes the most boring games can offer the sharpest angles?
Yeah, you know, try not to, you know, I think kind of boring or exciting is kind of bringing a little bit too much emotion into betting kind of period. You know, try to be as stoic as possible looking at these lines, not trying to watch them and bet them, but rather, you know, maybe bet them because it's great and then happen to watch my bet hopefully pan out for the win.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's got to be the play. I mean, when you look at all of these games, everybody wants to lay money on those big teams, but sometimes the best angles are the ones where there's not as much money being bet on it.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I think it's obviously varies game to game, but a lot of people will bet the Super Bowl because, of course, you're watching the Super Bowl. I'm going to bet the Super Bowl. Well, that's probably the sharpest line of the year. Same thing with Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football. Are we betting that because we're, you know, it's 8:30 and we're not ready to go to bed yet?
It's available.
Or because we think it's a super sharp line? You know, again, toss up every week.
Yeah, all right. Let's get to the Panthers here. 6.5-point favorites at home to the Colts. Panthers are going to be starting Will Grier as quarterback. Is it easier to trust a rookie when he's got Christian McCaffrey to hand the ball off to?
It's certainly easier when you've got Christian McCaffrey. It's Colts -6.5, now Panthers 6.5. But sorry. Nonetheless, right. No, all good. And 34% of bets on that. I love to fade the public here, especially with the Colts, you know, getting spanked last week on primetime television. You know, I think that's a great way. I think the 34% of bets kind of illustrates kind of Joe Public's emotional reaction to that game. You know, this Colts team is a team that's played pretty well all season. Obviously, Jacoby Brissett hasn't looked great there, but they're ready to bounce back. They've outperformed, you know, I think what they were supposed to do without Captain Andrew Luck, their fearless leader. But they're one that's 17% ranked offensively efficiency, but that's 9th in rush efficiency. Their passing game should be improving here. You know, I think last week we were still seeing ramifications from both Jacoby Brissett's injury as well as T.Y. Hilton's injury. Another week there, I think, is going to help them a lot. And nonetheless, you know, Carolina here is ranking 32nd in defensive rush efficiency. We've got Marlon Mack, we've got Hines, we've got Wilkins, and one other running back in the cavalry there that I think is ready to really break loose, especially after being held to 11 carries for 19 yards last week. You know, again, T.Y. was 4 for 25. Just really pedestrian numbers that were super, honestly, tough to watch in a big game for them.
But looking at that Colts defense, they have been torched in back-to-back games from Drew Brees and Jameis Winston. How do you feel about that?
I feel fine about that because who's throwing the other way? You know, we think it's going to be Grier, Allen still maybe in the mix, but nonetheless, you know, neither of those guys are Jameis Winston, who, you know, will go long at any point and with pocket protection is a great quarterback. And Drew Brees is Drew Brees. Just broke 2 records last week. You know, we got to give, I think, more credit to the Saints, both offense and defense last week. I think their defense especially for really, you know, stopping the Colts in their tracks. And I think that was one of the first games that both their offense and their defense have really played well together. Nonetheless, obviously the Colts are on the receiving end of that. They get smacked. Now everybody's ready to write them off. But I think this is a team with some good heart, with a great offensive line finally, that can hopefully put together a win and a cover. Sounds good to me.
they've got 10-win talent on that Colts team. Things haven't broken right for them, but you can see that that is a talented squad when things can break for them, especially if both of these teams are going to be running the ball. We expect that that one's going to be a low-scoring game as well.
Right.
Patriots, favored by just 6.5 against the Bills. Is this line a little bit of a reaction to the Patriots losing 2 of 3? Are you sensing New England is maybe slipping a bit, though?
I wouldn't say slipping a bit. Obviously, I'm back on the Pats again every week at this point, right? 6.5, 37%.
Just ride that train, man.
Yeah, you know, it's Brady, Belichick, and the boys, and they are back. How's that for alliteration? You know, I think, yes, please. We're at home seeing an opponent that they've already seen with the division on the line. How can you not want the greatest combo, QB coach combo out there? You know, we've seen this matchup once so far. It was a low-scoring affair, hostile Buffalo. If we think about where the Pats struggle every year, it's at Buffalo. You know, go back 10 years, they lost 41-0 at home or on the road. First game of the season, what did they do? They came back, they win the Super Bowl, right? And we look at them playing the Jets every year at MetLife. Usually a tough game this year, obviously a little bit of an outlier. But nonetheless, that's fine. I think the Patriots are a better team. I think the Patriots are better coached. They're at home. They've seen this team. The offense for Buffalo here, a little bit one-dimensional, I think. Obviously, they can go long to John Brown every now and again, but it's always a little bit of a broken play. It's always Josh Allen making that extra step. So having seen that once, I think Belichick will be able to game plan for them very well. This Pats D here ranks first in defensive efficiency. The Bills, fourth. Certainly great there. But looking on the other side of that, we do see a solid delta. The Pats offensive efficiency is at 14, with the Bills in the 22nd. And what I think I really like about the Bills here, or sorry, the Patriots here, is what Bill Belichick, Josh McDaniels are going to start calling this week. Of course, that weakness here stems from you know, the secondary is great for Buffalo, but their run D isn't as solid. So we're going to be pounding the run early to open up the play action. When the play action is working, the Patriots are at their best. One more step ahead of that, we look back 2 weeks ago, Edelman had 12 targets. The next receiver had a maximum of 3. Last week, Sanu had 8. Edelman had 5. 2 other receivers had 4, as well as 4 for James White. So being able to diversify that target share, I think, is huge for the Patriots, especially trying to get some momentum coming into the playoffs. And we see that every year when they over-target, you know, Edelman and historically Gronk. So once those other receivers start to step up, get those targets, hopefully catch those targets. Harry had a couple drops. Jacoby Myers has had a couple drops. But nonetheless, Brady trusting those receivers and giving them the reps ultimately makes this offense that much more dangerous.
I think what you're seeing in that is this game plan is working. Tom Brady trusts the game plan. They've identified a defender that they want to target or a type of defense they want to target, and they just keep hammering it. The thing is, you don't know which one of those guys is going to be the star. Is it going to be White? Is it going to be Sanu? You know, is it going to be Edelman? Who's going to be the star week in and week out? And that's always the question, you know, with the Patriots. But somehow they tend to get it done, especially on the defensive side. But I want to talk a little bit more about the Bills because a lot of people feel like the Bills are a bit of a paper tiger. However, they are playing for a division title. Yeah. Does that play a role in this? Do you have to sometimes step outside the metrics to figure out how a team is going to handle that type of pressure?
Yeah, I think if you weren't coming into Foxborough with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick also playing for that same divisional title, you know, we'd have a different story here. I thought the Bills were overrated all season. They've come in, they've beat some good teams. So I think they're definitely the real deal. Obviously, I think they're trending very well for a wild card pick here. We should see them in the playoffs, which is super exciting, especially with those Buffalo fans who are going crazy. But, you know, again, at home, Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, playing a team they've already seen once. I think my only reservation would be that, you know, the first game was 16-10, a 6-point win, only being -6.5 at home, I think shows a little bit of strength towards the Bills. But nonetheless, I'm taking the better team, the better coach. I'm taking the Patriots up in Foxborough.
However, if the Bills win, they could be in line to win the division, which means the Patriots would be a wild card team. We can only hope. We can only hope. That's a look at his top plays for Week 16 of the NFL season. Make sure you check out all the latest lines on sportsline.com. For Geoff Sheasby, I'm Steve Overmyer. This is Fanalysis.